Baseball isn't just numbers, numbers, numbers.
This game is not being played on computers.
You don't do that with a bunch of statistical gimmicks.
You don't put a team together with a computer.
We're talking weighted runs created plus,
expected WOBA,
his sweet spot rate,
defensive runs above average,
average exit velocity,
barrel rate,
xFIP,
BABIP,
SIERA.
We are above replacement radio. And welcome to Above Replacement Radio. We're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Giante. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing very well today. It is the first official in-season episode of season 5/6 of Above Replacement Radio, whatever you want to call it. The show to be named later, Above Replacement Radio. Opening weekend was this weekend. It also tied into a holiday, so I spent a lot of my weekend hanging out with my friends and family, watching some ball. That's what we're both doing right now. As you can look at the screens behind us, it is the Cardinals and Dodgers Sunday night game. It's currently in the top of the 8th. Cardinals are up 4-2. But it has been a joyous first weekend of baseball. How did you spend your weekend?
Yeah, I spent my weekend watching a good bit of baseball. Actually, had a couple visitors over here in Virginia, which was nice. But watch some baseball. It's a good sport. Like, if you guys haven't considered baseball, it's a pretty fun sport to watch.
I mean, we are on season like 152 right now, so like there is some catching up to do, but like once you get to like 1920, like that's when it starts getting good. Pretty lively, I would say.
Yeah, a lot more big name actors in from that point forward, but
yeah.
Also, hey, MLB, cancel me. How's this for blackouts, huh? How's this for blackouts?
The national broadcast.
Yeah, you can just watch Above Replacement Radio. We're gonna give you all the streams. But yeah, fun little weekend. Excited for many more of this likeness, and yeah. But before the action started, and we will get into the action, but we did feel a little bit of closure as the last big market free agent came off the board in a very underwhelming contract at it's 1 year, $25 million with a vesting option for another year and $25 million, which should likely kick in. It's like 10 starts that he has to make.
There's a bunch of clauses within it. I don't have them pulled up in front of me. But I believe I think it was he can opt out if he makes 10 starts, actually.
Right. Oh yeah. It was an opt out. But Jordan Montgomery signed a deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Invests into a player option.
Yeah, so he has the option. So he has the ability to opt out if he wants to, if he makes 10 starts, which is similar to like, Blake Snell. Blake Snell also has an opt out after this year. So I think the guys later in the market determined this year was going to be a failure, and they're just going to test the market out most likely next year, and hopefully it works out for them. But what did you think about Jordan Montgomery signing with Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, it was a move that made sense. Obviously, the D-backs got a good look at him last year in the World Series, games 1 and 5, right? Did he start games 1 and 5 for them, or was that Evaldi? I think he just started game 2. But regardless, Eduardo Rodriguez had just gone down with an injury. They needed another depth piece, and Montgomery made sense. I mean, a lot of the high-profile free agents of this offseason have gone to the NL West. Ohtani, Yamamoto, Snell, Chapman, Erod, like to their own team. And then Montgomery's another one. So a lot of the NL West teams are loading up, and the D-backs lost their biggest in addition, so they brought in another one.
Right. And it's for the same reasons the Eduardo Rodriguez signing makes sense. This also makes sense. The Diamondbacks for I think a couple years have been known exclusively for their top 2 starting pitchers and not really having much afterwards. It was noted pretty well when the Diamondbacks went into the NLDS starting or no, they went into the NL wildcard round starting Brandon Fod game one, and everyone talked about like 5.72 ERA. That's crazy. Like how shallow is this Arizona starting pitching staff? And I think that was a valid concern. So getting a third guy, especially for a potential playoff run, should help them out. And once Eduardo Rodriguez comes back, that's four guys, and it builds a little bit of stability for the regular season as well.
Yeah, I mean, they were doing bullpen games for game 4 of the NLCS against the Phillies and game 4 of the World Series against the Rangers. One of those went well and one of them didn't. But yeah, I mean, I think, a situation where you're doing a bullpen game in a playoff game in a, deep into the October run is probably not exactly where you want to be. You might have a strong bullpen and they might be able to get the job done, but you're still, taxing a lot of arms that you need later in the series regardless. So, having options that, you see as above that is very important. And the Diamondbacks, if Erod comes back healthy and if everyone else maintains stability, like they got 4 legit starters, they got a quality playoff rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like and yeah, that's much different than last year. And I'm not Arizona isn't necessarily known for their bullpen also, which so this adds a lot of relief to them if Montgomery, part of his value and why a lot of teams wanted him, or a lot of fans of teams wanted him, was he was a real innings producer last year, also I believe the year before, and was able to go pretty deep into games. And that'll really help out a team, especially during the regular season, but also during the postseason, making sure that you're exclusively having like your best arms out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't really know much of the details into what this free agency was like. It obviously went on for a while. There seemed to be a couple teams that were checking in. There was a report that said that he wasn't interested in going to the Red Sox because he wanted to win and what have you. But I'm very surprised he didn't get a more long-term offer, or at least he didn't take a more long-term offer. I don't know if it was offered or not, but arms are so scarce right now with how many pitchers go down with injuries and how many arms you can rely on, because anyone's arm can just fall off at any moment. It feels like Jordan Montgomery has pitched 150 plus innings in each of the last 3 seasons. I don't know how many pitchers can say that, and he's done it at a quality level. His FIP has ranged between 3.5 to 3.6 in each of the last 3 seasons. He's been one of the best in terms of pure volume and results for 3 years now. And it is kind of wild to me that a lot of teams didn't see that and think, okay, well, here's an innings guy. And obviously, it doesn't always work out like that. Look at the Lucas Giolito situation in Boston. But, I mean, like Blake Snell was kind of the opposite, where like, yeah, he did pitch a lot of innings last year, but is it can it be replicated? We don't really know. Montgomery's been a lot more consistent with it over the last few years now, and he's seemingly gotten a lot better as time has gone on. So I am very surprised that he only ended up with 1 year.
Right, because you kind of understand why someone like Snell maybe wasn't as trusted in the market, because part of the knock on Snell was those innings and his lack of innings per start, and maybe potentially lack of ability to stay healthy consistently. But he goes out. But yeah, Jordan Montgomery seems sort of like the more reliable free agent, which is why I think a lot of fans of teams wanted him and wanted him for the future, notably the Red Sox, because they haven't really had that as of late. So yeah, it's definitely interesting he didn't get a longer deal, but I think that might be some influence from his agency saying, don't settle for less money or less average annual value, because maybe this market will be much better the next time around.
Yeah, it was not an off season to remember for Scott Boras. I think there are a lot of factors that he just didn't really consider in terms of how owners would react to the market kind of fluctuating with a lot of his free agents. A lot of his guys were reportedly given much bigger offers, but they turned them down because they thought they were going to get more and then they didn't. It is very unfortunate to see what happened. It seemed to be a really difficult offseason for Scott Boras with a lot of his guys. Real quick, Andre Palante just gave up a home run, but it was on his curveball, so we're good.
That's always a plus. That when
Yeah, no, huge, reputation saved.
absolutely, yeah, we love to see that.
Um,
Yeah. So yeah, very unfortunate offseason for Scott Boras and just generally the players, but
mhm.
you know, it comes on the heels of a tremendous offseason for the players, so I'm hoping it goes more toward that. That
Yeah,
seemed hard to repeat considering like Judge get Judge gets I mean the fact that Xander Bogaerts got $280 million, like, you know, that was going to be hard to repeat from a player's perspective, but we're hoping it gets more near that.
yeah.
Um,
Just real quick, Jordan Montgomery, since 2021, is one of just four pitchers to have 150 plus innings pitched and a FIP below 3.7 in each of the last 3 seasons. The other three are Kevin Gausman, Garrett Cole, and Zach Wheeler.
yeah, that
Yeah, and
is
one of them already definitely not gonna, or most likely not gonna pitch 150 innings this year.
yeah, right.
So that list, if Jordan Montgomery is able to go down and do it again, that really list could shrink to three, going into potentially another free agency for him.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we'll have to keep tabs of these pitchers because they're probably going to be free agents again. Snell and Montgomery particularly. So yeah, should be interesting. Um, and yeah, but nonetheless, now we have some MLB action to talk about. It's not quite over as we record for the weekend, but we still do have what's going to become likely a tradition of ARR. We're going to have some overreactions. Anything from the action you want to talk about before the overreactions, or do we want to just get right into it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could just shout out a couple guys, couple teams. I don't know how much we're gonna dive into them in the future, but like, I mean, Mookie Betts has been excellent, right? I mean, he came into tonight hitting 611 over his first 5 games. I believe he's 0 for 4 tonight. And so that probably brought his average way down to like, 560 or something like that. Um, the Yankees swept the Astros in 4 at Minute Maid Park. That was definitely not what I think a lot of people were expecting. Um, no Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez starting on opening day. A lot of questions surrounding the rotation. And they did it with some gutsy wins, right? Like, two big defensive plays in the ninth inning to save the game. One from Juan Soto on Thursday, the other from John Birdie earlier today. The Yankees have now won 7 straight in Houston, dating back to last season. It's obviously hard to judge whether this will carry through or not. But the Astros have been the forever kryptonite of the Yankees in this window, and if there's a playoff series between them tomorrow, like I think there's a lot more Yankees optimism than there has been going into a Houston series in a while.
Yeah, it could be the case. I with from an Astros perspective, I wouldn't really be worried at all from an Astros perspective, to be honest. I think, when you look at within the game and games, only one of them really got away from the Astros. It's just a matter of, one team did it in the big moments and the other team seemed to not. But I don't think that's necessarily reflective of what will go on um, in the future. Because yeah, I mean, obviously a lot is going to change between October and April, but yeah, it is good to see from a Yankees perspective, especially a team that disappointed pretty massively last year, and I feel like they were on the wrong end of a lot of big moments. So I think that's very refreshing from a Yankees perspective.
Yeah. In terms of the teams that went undefeated this weekend and are going to go into April still without a loss, the Yankees, aforementionedly. The Pirates went 4-0 against the Marlins. That was a pretty big sweep for them. They won an extra inning game on opening day. They had, they came back from being down 5-0 today. They had the Jared Jones debut on Saturday. Overall, just a strong weekend for the Buccos. Some more March optimism for Pittsburgh. We saw that last year as well. The Tigers went 3-0 against the White Sox. Certainly exciting for Detroit, but they were also facing the White Sox. So we'll pause on the big optimism for now with them. The Brewers won all 3 games against the Mets. There was some drama in that series with Reese Hoskins and all of that, fun business that happened. Johan Ramirez with his, to be fair, Johan Ramirez, I believe, has 20 grade control. So who knows? Oh, Max Muncy just gave the Dodgers the lead in the 8th.
Oh, no way.
You're about to see it. Sorry to spoil it for you.
Well, at least I know to turn around.
Yeah. All right, Chris's live reaction on YouTube right here.
And that's a deep drive, and he did it. Max Muncy gives the Cardinals the lead. He whacked that one over the right field wall here at
Gives
Chavez
who the lead?
Ravine. Off of the old, who's pitching?
Who is pitching? It doesn't say right now.
A projected distance of 321 feet. That can't be correct. That's not Dodgers dimensions.
That doesn't make any sense.
That is not.
That's a lefty.
That was not wrapped around Pesky's pole.
Might be Drew Rom. You did say gives the Cardinals the lead, which is factually incorrect.
Whoops.
Yeah. Anyway, anyone else go undefeated this week that I forgot to mention?
No.
Right. No one in the AL East did. Or well, other than the Yankees, no one in the AL East did. The Tigers, in the AL West, the Rangers did not. They lost today. In the NL East, I'm just thinking on the fly here. No. The NL Central, the Brewers, Pirates. I think that's it.
Everyone else won. Everyone else won and lost. Yeah. But yeah, so last year we started the overreaction tradition. I think most of us, I think on most of them, we sort of regretted it. I think I talked about the Tigers being hopeless. They ended up going on to be a second place team.
Yeah.
Then what I said, Trace Thompson was was going to be able to repeat success. And then I think he got DFA'd. And then I think the third overreaction was actually pretty good, but it wasn't really out on a limb. I said that the pick-off rule was going to be like the more impactful than the bases, but
not bad.
I don't know I don't know if you can really prove that. But yeah. So yeah, do you want to get into your first overreaction of the weekend?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find what mine were. Okay, yeah, mine. I found mine from last year. The Phillies will be fighting an uphill battle throughout the year. I don't know why I said that.
They got swept by Texas.
Oh, they did get swept by Texas. I don't know. I mean, they did go through some rough patches, I guess, but I don't know if it was an uphill battle. They were pretty comfortably in a playoff spot throughout the year. Multiple teams will steal over 200 bases. Did that happen last season?
That is a good question. This is our reflection piece.
This is like the first time we've ever reflected on predictions that we made on this show. We always just ignore them. The third one was the Nolan Gorman breakout is real. I think that's debatable, right? I feel like he could still break out. Some people might say he broke out last year. That one's pretty up in the air, I think.
No one stole 200 bases last year, unfortunately.
No one stole 200. The Reds stole 190. No one else stole more than 166. So I was right on like half of a one. Like the Nolan Gorman breakout, you could argue is real. You could argue is not. I would hear out both.
But these ones are going to be real.
Yeah. This is all going to happen for sure.
This is all going to happen because we are the hot take podcast. We're never really measured in any of our takes. We don't really use much numbers or data to back up our takes. So this is.
I actually kind of no, I didn't today.
This is what it is. This is the era. This is the hot takes era of ARR. It starts today and it will probably end today.
Hopefully. Most likely, unless some miracle happens and we don't make complete fools out of ourselves, it ends today. I guess to be fair, in terms of reflections, we do our hits and misses every year for our players to highlight.
Yeah, that is good. We do that.
Yeah,
Um,
usually it's more highlighted the misses than the hits, but that's all right. Do you want me to get started?
yeah,
All right, my first overreaction. This involves my 2024 AL Cy Young pick, Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez's four-seamer will produce the highest run value for any four-seam fastball in any season since it started being tracked in 2019. The record is currently held by people kind of forget how good he was this season, but 2019 Garrett Cole produced a 36 run value on his four-seam fastball, and I have Pablo Lopez beating that this year. Just to go into details, he's already at 3 after his first start, in which he recorded the highest called strike and whiff percentage on a four-seam fastball in any game since 2021, with at least 25 four-seamers thrown. He threw 37 four-seamers and had 21 called strikes and whiff, putting him at 56.8%. It's the highest rate of nearly 2,000 such games in the last 3+ seasons. So my first hot take is that Pablo Lopez will have the highest run value on a four-seam fastball in the era that it's been tracked.
that is fun. That is fun. It will align with your Cy Young prediction of him. Is Yeah, you're on the Pablo Lopez train, and I fully support that.
Mm-hmm.
My first overreaction is Christian Javier will return to 2022 form. I'm pretty excited about what he did in his first start against the Yankees, and of course, yeah, that is a good lineup in the Yankees. For context on what he did in 2022, people will remember his postseason success, but he was also really good in the regular season. He had a 2.54 ERA and 2.43 expected ERA. I forgot to mark down innings, but I know it was over 100. And both of those numbers went to the mid fours last year, the ERA and expected ERA. Things got bad as his fastball results got a lot worse, partially because of his fastball velocity went down and his fastball spin went down, and players were popping it up less, hitting more barrels, hitting more line drives. It was not good for Christian Javier last year. But I think he counteracted that by adding a changeup into his mix this year. He did technically have it last year, but his changeup usage was only 4% last year. He used it 28% of the time in his start against the Yankees this past weekend, and it ended up working. His changeup got good results, and he ended up with overall really good results in this past start. Ended up with 6 shutout innings, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 4 hits, and 3 of his 16 batted balls were pop-ups, which is 19%, nearly triple league average. And the addition of his changeup, well, his fastball is still around the same velocity, and his fastball is around the same spin rate. The addition of that changeup should make his fastball more effective, because obviously it's like on the same plane. Players have a harder time identifying fastballs and changeups and finding the difference between that. So Christian Javier, my first overreaction is that Christian Javier will return to 2022 form.
Good
What
take.
is your second overreaction?
Yeah, my second take involves one of the teams playing on the screens behind both of us in this current moment. The Dodgers have 13 games scheduled against the Colorado Rockies this year, and they will go 13-0. They will go 13-0 against the Colorado Rockies. This one is definitely more off of vibes than anything else. It's probably not the craziest take, because I think a lot of people would, maybe just aren't thinking about it. But if they do, would be like, yeah, no, I could see that. But I did look up what kind of precedent there is to this, and what I found is that there are 9 teams since 1901 that have played 10+ games against a particular opponent and won every single one of those games. The last team to go undefeated against a certain opponent in at least 10 games was the 1999 Texas Rangers over the Minnesota Twins. They went 12-0. And the most games that a team has won over a single opponent is the 1993 Atlanta Braves, who won 13 games and lost 0 over the same Colorado Rockies, because the Braves used to be in the NL West, which makes total sense. So this has only happened, 9 times between 1970 to 1999. It hasn't happened in the 21st century at any point. And I mean, give them credit. The Rockies did win a game this weekend. The Dodgers did also lose a game this weekend. So, they might be a little more mortal than we think. The Rockies, who knows? But you look at these two rosters, and it's just impossible to imagine the Rockies having a ton of success against the Dodgers. I have them with none.
Um, right, yeah, that will be fun. It'll be 2021 Rays Orioles-esque.
Yep.
Rays went 18-1 against them. But look at the Orioles now. But so my second overreaction, it's a homer take. As you know, I enjoyed watching some Red Sox pitching, and I think everyone in Boston is kind of having this take right now and having this overreaction right now. But we should label it an overreaction. But it's a fun take to have. The Andrew Bailey pitching lab is taking full effect. The Red Sox
Not
pitching,
full effect because Joely Rodriguez.
that's yeah, true, but as full effect as it can
That
have.
99% effect.
Joely Rodriguez hypothetically may be sent down by like April 15, and we'll have Brennan Bernardino back and getting that effect. But the Andrew Bailey pitching lab is in full effect. And for context, Andrew Bailey, he was hired as the Red Sox pitching coach for this year. He had previously been the Giants pitching coach from 2020 to 2023. And for context on what the Giants did is in 2019, the Giants were 18th in FIP, and then 2020 happened. They improved that to I think 15th, and then 2021, 2022, and 2023, the Giants were top 5 in both FIP and XFIP. So they went from having a below average FIP to having top 5 in FIP, XFIP, FIP and XFIP in 2021, 2022, and 2023. And this weekend, the Red Sox, who are now pitching coached by Andrew Bailey, they looked very, very good. They had a 33% strikeout rate and 3% walk rate, along with a 31% called strike and whiff rate, which is a good amount above league average. And an underwhelming starting staff on paper looked great against what we should acknowledge is an above average offense in Seattle. They had, I think, a 106 OPS plus last year. So yeah, I'm believing in the Andrew Bailey pitching lab, and it's kind of the silver lining of having Craig Breslow as the GM is the connection was there, and it helped out to hire Andrew Bailey, and that might be one of the benefits of having Craig Breslow instead of Chaim Bloom. And also, I think that's one of the valid detractions you can have with Chaim Bloom is he didn't necessarily aim to build pitching development as much as he should have maybe. But he did. But with Craig Breslow, he is sort of doing that. So yeah. On to your third overreaction.
My overreaction is, did I just watch Daniel Hudson at age 37 close out a game, a 1-run game with a 1-2-3 inning against two like former all-star hitters? Wow, that's crazy.
So my computer decided not to display my camera anymore, so no more video for this episode. But it's an audio medium, so no need to worry about it. But yeah, on to your third overreaction from the weekend.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, this is your cue to switch to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. My third prediction, every team in the National League Central will finish within 10 games of each other at the end of the season. I mean, the Cubs were my champion, and they played, they lost some tough games to the Rangers. They hung with them every game. They won today. Lost in a walk-off on Thursday. Lost a game that got away from them at the end of Saturday's game. The Pirates were my last place team, and they went 4-0 this weekend. So this is the hardest division to pick. There's not a team that really stands out as a clear favorite, but there also isn't really a clear team that stands out of being like, well, this team definitely isn't going anywhere. The Cardinals, probably played the worst this weekend, but you know what? They did play the Dodgers, and they hung with them, right? Like they won on Saturday. They could have won tonight. Could have walked out of there with a split, and they lost, in the Glasnow and Bobby Miller games, and Bobby Miller looked awesome in his outing on Friday. So, there's not, I think the competition in the NL Central is going to be pretty good. And yeah, I don't have any stats for the precedent on this. I wasn't able to find how to like do that, but I think all 5 teams will finish within 10 games of each other.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening. Like you get maybe 85 win first place team, 75 win last place team. I could
Hmm.
I could see that. That would be pretty fun. Um yeah, my third overreaction, I avoided teams. I did only players and then this one. But this is an overreaction people have been having for the last like couple months, but uh man, Fanatics jerseys really
Oh,
one of the worst things to happen in recent baseball history. Uh
yeah.
and it's not even necessarily because of the new developed sweat marks that we've been seeing, because that's also bad. It looks like, a beer league softball game with like guys in the middle of the day on a hot day, uh, with just sweat dripping down their college alumni shirt. But, you know, it's and from a TV viewing experience, I have a decent sized TV. It's like 50 inches, and I have my couch is pretty close up, and I'm having a pretty hard time reading the pitcher last name. I'm not memorizing numbers out here. I'm not necessarily doing that. I'd like to know what the pitcher's name is, and it's kind of hard to see. I don't have 20/20, but I don't really require glasses or anything. I should be able to see the last name of the guy who's pitching, and I was able to see it my whole childhood, my whole 22 years leading up to this, childhood and beyond that. But now I can't do that, and I don't like that, and I want it to be different, and I want them to change it, and I wish they changed it earlier, because it would be a lot more fun, and I'd be able to read some of these guys. It's weird. It was a very unnecessary thing to make these letters smaller. I don't really even care about the rest of the uniform. It's mostly that.
It's
But
mostly
yeah,
that, and the see-through stuff is still kind of there. Like if you look hard enough, it's there.
yeah, it's
Um,
it's odd.
yeah, I am glad we got some uniform talk in this episode because yeah, it's been, I don't think I've ever seen a thing that baseball fans have so universally agreed upon because, people will have their takes and people will have their disagreements over anything in this game. But yeah, these uniforms suck, and I don't even know if it's an overreaction, but yeah, no, it is a huge problem to see the lettering on these jerseys. It's frustrating. It's bad. I mean, you're absolutely right on what you said. I was listening to Effectively Wild recently, and they were doing a hot takes prediction show, and I think it was Mike Bauman who said like one of his predictions was there'll be uh NSFW uniform content that goes viral, which is the light way of putting it. He worded it much differently.
That's very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll off camera I'll try to pull up like the actual wording because it was very funny. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I hope it's somewhat comfortable for the players, but yeah, it's
Did you see the Yankees, like most it was most specifically the Yankees, maybe it was because of the gray coloring of the jerseys, but the way that it looked like people were sweating through those in an indoor stadium.
yeah, it's crazy.
Like what is this going to look like when it's July?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
these uniforms, they're a problem. I mean, it goes without saying they are a problem.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so yeah, that'll do it for this year's overreactions. Only after opening weekend do we do them. Usually it's just normal takes after that, but
I mean, I feel like everyone does overreactions on opening weekend, whether they like it or not. Like, it's we've gone without baseball for so long, we forget how long the season is because it feels like it's been so long since there's been a season. And you watch games 1 through 3, and you're like, okay, this is everything that's gonna happen. This is everything I need to know. And it's not. It's like a fraction of the season, which is awesome because you look at how much has happened already and you're like, oh my God, we have 159 of these to go. That's so sick.
right. Yeah, and I'm both. I'm both like the because
Mhm.
when things are going according to my projected narratives,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, oh, definitely, like the Marlins might be the worst team in baseball. Like this is how it's gonna be. It's gonna be like this, and I was so right to say that they were gonna finish below the Nationals this year. And then the Cubs had a rough weekend, and I'm like, well, they're facing a tough team. We got to look at the long-term scale of this. We have to see this for what it is. They're facing a tough team at a tough ballpark. They're going to take their blows, but over the 162, I still trust them to win that NL Central. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, but Bobby Witt Jr. is gonna finish the season with a 391 weighted runs created plus. He
yeah,
is he is going to slug 1273
right, yeah,
with an 833 BABIP. Like
yeah,
you
exactly,
can't combat that. But Jordan Alvarez, in his first few games, you got to give him some time, right? He had two barrels today that were caught at the wall. Like he's not gonna have a three weighted runs created plus.
yeah, yeah. You have to take these things for what they are.
You gotta run with whatever fits your narrative is what you gotta do. Although the one
Exactly.
overreaction, maybe Anthony Rendon actually does finish the year with a negative 100 weighted runs created plus.
That could happen because
He
he
is
could.
he is the only qualifying hitter that has not reached base yet.
Yeah, and you could just end that sentence after end his season. It could be done. It could be over after
Yeah.
this. Um, but yeah, so that's it for overreactions. Now we will get into players to highlight. We're throwing a bit of a curveball here. Typically we always do how about that's before slightly alarmings, but we're restructuring the end of the show a little bit because we are currently going once a week just based on our scheduling and having full-time jobs with very different schedules. It makes it a little bit difficult to make it possible to do it multiple times a week right now. So we're kind of eliminating or temporarily eliminating our preview of the week or weekend ahead. So instead of ending on slightly alarmings and throwing everybody away with a sour note, we're going to end on the positives. However, that means we do have to start with the negatives, and that is why we are starting with our Sunday, March 31st, 2024 edition of Slightly Alarming Statistics. He's been barreling up the ball way less.
He's not missing bats. He's not getting the ball on the ground, and people are hitting it in the air more.
It's been so bad. He is getting a
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, we are. Just if anyone's listening to an in-season podcast for the first time, we call this segment slightly alarming. We don't have to get into the lore of why we call it that specifically, but we call it slightly alarming because we understand that baseball players go through slumps over the course of 162, and we just did our overreactions. These are not overreactions by any means. This is kind of just hey, this guy's been struggling recently. Here's what he's been doing wrong. And usually it's just he'll get better because it's simply a bad 15 game stretch over the course of 162. This weekend's always tough because we only have like 3 or 4 games to go off of to begin with. Uh, but what we say here is usually not indicative of what we think is going to happen throughout the full season. With that being said, my first slightly alarming of the year is Chris Bryant. He had himself a rough weekend, as did Colorado. I feel bad just kind of piling on with the Colorado slander here. I talked about them in my overreactions in a negative way, and I'm doing it here again. But in the 3 games that Chris Bryant played, he went 0 for 10 with 1 walk and 1 sacrifice fly. He had 7 strikeouts in 12 plate appearances. And this is just the second 3 game stretch in Chris Bryant's major league career where he had 7 strikeouts and 0 hits over the course of any 3 games. The other span came in his 12th, 13th, and 14th career games from April 29th through May 2nd of 2015. So it's been 9 years just about since Chris Bryant had himself a 3 game stretch as rough as this one has been to start the season. There were some comments he made earlier in spring training where he kind of alluded to regretting signing with the Rockies, talking about how he had wished he'd done more research into their farm system before deciding that he was going to sign there long term. I think kind of what he was trying to say there is that the timeline of when they are going to be a winning team has changed since when he got there in a bad way, which is true, especially with all the free agents that went to the NL West. But you know, I feel like this Chris Bryant Rockies contract could get even uglier than it already has been uh, over the first 2 years of it. He hasn't really been on the field much. When he's been on the field, he hasn't performed. He's spoken negatively about his own decision to be there. The team is going through the worst stretch that they've ever gone through in the history of their franchise right now. And I feel like things could get pretty ugly between these two.
Yeah, yeah. Chris Bryant.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, and first slightly alarming, first overlap here.
Wow.
We
Wow.
we
That
agree
is
on it.
incredible.
Yeah, look at that. Record time.
Yeah, I'm wasting no time.
Yeah, Chris Bryant, as you mentioned, yeah, 0 for 10, 7 strikeouts. 52% of his swings have been whiffs, and out of 63 hitters with 25 plus swings heading into Sunday, his whiff rate was the highest. He's facing Gallen, but then like Kelly isn't really Merrill Kelly isn't really known for whiffs. And then who went was it Brandon Fod yesterday or was that today? I don't know.
No, it was who
Was it
was it that
Nelson
went today? No, it was Tommy Henry, I think, actually.
who went yesterday? Because he was out of the
Yeah,
lineup today.
unless did Tommy Henry go today? I'm pretty sure Tommy Henry went yesterday
Yeah,
because he was out of the lineup today. Yes.
right.
Yeah, because and then Fod went today. Yeah, so it was Tommy Henry in game 3.
Yeah. So yeah, not necessarily going against whiff masters, but he did whiff 52% of the time this past weekend. So Chris Bryant from both of us getting a
Slightly alarming.
all right. Well, now on to our now we go from the lows to the highs where we are talking our uh Sunday, March 31st, 2024 editions of How About That?
He's striking out less, walking more, and he's also making better contact.
Turning into a strikeout machine just out of nowhere.
He's been excellent all around this year.
And he is getting a
Yeah, so as is tradition for the first players to highlight of the year, I have two how about that's, one position player and one pitcher. Two teams that, for very different reasons, I'm happy to be getting off the board this early in the year as we try to highlight every team at least once on how about that. But first, I'd love to show some love to JD Davis of the Oakland A's. This is definitely a lot more anecdotal than it is statistical, but in 4 games this weekend, he slashed 385, 475, I believe it was. I accidentally didn't write down his OBP. That's super embarrassing. He had a 467 OBP. I was 8 points off, I think. Slugged 846 for a 1313 OPS and 262 weighted runs created plus. The reason why I wanted to highlight him, not just for doing well, but he's also gone through quite a bit in the last month or so. When the Giants signed Matt Chapman at the beginning of March, JD Davis was DFA'd as the corresponding move. It makes sense from a on-field standpoint with a new infielder coming in. Probably another infielder had to go, and JD Davis just didn't really have a fit. But the problem here kind of lies with the contract part of these things because there was a loophole in the current CBA that was abused for this JD Davis thing. So the problem is with this new CBA, if you are an arbitration eligible player, your arbitration contract is not fully guaranteed until you make the opening day roster. And JD Davis went to a hearing with the Giants this winter. He won his arbitration hearing and was given a $6.9 million salary. The Giants countered at, I believe, $6.55 million. So in DFAing JD Davis, they terminated his contract. And on Fangraphs roster resource, it currently says the A's are paying him $2.5 million. So I can't imagine what it was like, not only moving from one team to another, but losing out on all that money because of a stupid loophole. But also going from a contending team to a very much non-contending team. I'm sure that was probably very tough for JD Davis, but got to shout him out for playing well in these first couple of games here.
Yeah, absolutely. JD Davis.
How about that?
And who is your next? How about that?
Yeah, so my second one, this one is a lot more statistical. I am going reliever diving on week 1, show 1, episode 1 of the in-season pods. Talking about Ryan Yarbrough of the Dodgers. So far, Ryan Yarbrough has thrown 4 2/3 scoreless innings with an average exit velocity of 83.9 miles per hour. And if you've seen Ryan Yarbrough, you know that he fits the mold of the like crafty lefty archetype. Doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but induces weak contact. That's exactly who he is. Throughout the StatCast era, his 84.9 mile per hour career average exit velocity against is the lowest among the 186 pitchers with at least 1,500 batted balls allowed in the StatCast era. And he's continued that this year, but he's added a bit of something new. Throughout much of his career, Ryan Yarbrough's sinker, which is his most primarily used pitch, has averaged around 24 to 25 inches of downward movement, and that's pretty on par with most sinkers. So far in 2024, though, it has averaged 31.8 inches of downward movement. He's added about 8 inches of downward movement to his sinker. From 2018 through 2023, Ryan Yarbrough threw a total of 42 sinkers with 30 inches of downward movement out of 2,298 total sinkers. And in 2023, he has thrown 23 of such pitches on 34 total sinkers. So in just 2 outings, he's contributed half of sinkers with 30 inches of downward movement as he did in 5 years and in almost 2,300 total sinkers, and he's done that in just 2 outings. So pretty impressed with what I've seen out of Ryan Yarbrough so far. The Dodgers clearly toyed around with him this offseason and made something work. He's going to have a much more effective sinker if he keeps this up, and he could be a really effective piece for the Dodgers out of that bullpen.
Yeah, Ryan Yarbrough.
How about that?
Yeah, always pretty fun to see what the Dodgers can do with a pitcher. Always seem to put them in the right direction. My how about that is also coming from the Bay Area. It's actually, it's a little tie-in, Bay Area and NL West. Talking Michael Conforto, who has looked pretty impressive in the 4 games that he has played. He so far is hitting 400 with a 1404 OPS and 2 home runs. And 4 of his 10 batted balls that he's hit have been barrels. That's 40%. Obviously not going to be sustainable at all, but that's a really good sign for the first 4 games. He's also hit 4 fly balls, and 3 of those fly balls were pulled, which is a really good sign, especially I know he wasn't playing at Oracle Park, but that would be a good thing at Oracle Park, especially if you're pulling it extra, over at that 309 foul pole. It's a pretty, the splash area, as you'd like to call it. That is a good spot to put it. So, Michael Conforto, he's had an up and down career, and maybe righting the ship a little bit, or at least that's what he's shown in these past 4 games. So, yeah, Michael Conforto.
How about that?
So, yeah, that will do it for the players to highlight. Anything to add before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, look at us, a couple of East Coast Red Sox fans with no East Coast bias, talking about 3 California players on episode 1.
Oh yeah, you know us. Well, we both did technically move west since our last
Geographically
season.
speaking, yes, I moved 2 hours, still in New York.
Yes.
You moved more south than anything, but
Yeah,
technically geographically west.
just a little bit west. The sun goes down a little bit later than it did back home. But yeah, look at us go with our West Coast bias, all California. But yeah, that shall do it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. Always fun to get back talking about MLB action and not hypothetical MLB action. But
Yes.
yeah, we hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to. And if you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at @Chris_Gian, to follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Current, and follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. If you are listening on an Apple Podcast or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens for about the first half hour of this show, go to the YouTube channel that's called Above Replacement Radio and check out all the playlists, all the interviews. We have, on both on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube, we have interviews with Chris Rose, Jeff Passan, Sarah Langs, Foolish Bailey, Mike Petriello, some really, really good baseball voices, and most of them are pretty timeless. So make sure to check those out as always. And yeah, that shall do it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next time, where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball once again. See you then.
This conversation is over.